Smoke curled over the jagged cliffs as a low, rumbling roar shook the ground. Elias Thorne's hovercraft skidded to a stop, sensors screaming. He jumped out before it fully landed, boots sinking into ash and scorched earth. Ahead, a massive shape quivered, half buried in molten rock. A dragon-like creature, scales blackened with burns, let out a tortured cry that echoed through the valley. Her wings were torn, one dragging uselessly across the ground. Every breath she took rattled her ribs like broken metal. Elias didn't pause. He grabbed his medical pack and sprinted toward her. His mind raced faster than his legs. The creature's eyes, huge, glowing amber, fixed on him. Panic and pain mingled in that gaze. He felt it as if it pressed against his chest. Around the dragon, alien scavengers, bipedal, insectoid predators with razor limbs, circled hungrily. One misstep and Elias knew he'd be caught in their frenzy. He reached the creature and dropped to one knee, scanning her wounds. Burned flesh, deep gashes from claw and stone, and something worse, a faint pulse in her chest that barely kept her alive. She shook violently, nearly tipping over, but Elias caught her claw in his hands. Then he saw it, a tiny shape curled against her chest, shimmering faintly. A hatchling no bigger than his forearm, covered in iridescent scales that shifted like oil on water. The scavengers hissed, their mandibles clicking. The mother's roar tore through the smoke again, a mix of warning and desperation. Elias froze for only a heartbeat, then did the only thing he could. He scooped the hatchling into his arms and yelled at the scavengers. "Back off." His voice was human and small, but the urgency carried. The hatchling trembled, but its glow pulsed brighter, casting strange patterns on Elias's face. He glanced at the mother. Her amber eyes flicked to him and then to the hatchling. A tremor passed through her massive body. Then, almost impossibly, a ripple of energy passed from her to Elias, an unspoken plea, a silent command, protect her child. Elias's chest tightened. He nodded, though she couldn't understand him. He understood her perfectly. The first scavenger lunged. Elias dropped low and kicked a rock into its path. It skidded, losing balance, but there were more. He darted toward a ridge that led out of the crater, moving quickly despite the weight of the hatchling in his arms. Every step he took sent ash and dust into the air, giving cover but also hiding the path ahead. He could hear the creature's labored breathing, the hiss of scavengers, and the faint pulse of the hatchling. "Almost there," he muttered. He grabbed a fallen branch, brandishing it like a weapon. The scavengers hesitated, unsure of this human's confidence. Humans were unpredictable, maybe that gave him the edge. Then it happened. A bolt of energy shot from the hatchling, bright and quick. The scavengers froze, screeching, and stumbled backward. Elias blinked. The hatchling's glow wasn't just light, it was power. He didn't know how it worked, but he had a brief, small advantage. With a deep breath, he sprinted toward the ridge, using the moment to put distance between them and the circling predators. As they reached a narrow ledge, the mother shifted, her claws scraping the stone. She groaned but didn't move toward Elias. Her focus was entirely on the hatchling. Elias realized then she had no strength left. No one else would help. If he didn't act, the last of this species would die here. Elias climbed over jagged rocks, every movement careful, precise. The hatchling pressed closer to him, shivering in fear and pain. He whispered, "I won't let anything happen to you. Not while I'm here." Even as he spoke, the hatchling pulsed again, almost in response. It was alive, aware, and somehow aware of him too. Then the ridge crumbled. Elias's heart skipped a beat as the ground beneath his feet gave way. Rocks tumbled into the crater below. He grabbed the hatchling tighter, using his free hand to catch a jagged ledge. His muscles burned, but he pulled himself up. A shiver of triumph ran through him. He was alive. The scavengers shrieked below, unable to follow. The mother let out one final, shuddering cry, her eyes closing slowly. Elias didn't look back. He clutched the hatchling close and whispered, "We're going to make it. I promise." The glow of the tiny creature lit his face in soft, eerie patterns, almost like a heartbeat he could see. He didn't understand it, but he felt it, something ancient, fragile, and powerful. Something that deserved to survive. Then a shadow passed overhead. Elias froze. Something large moved across the smoke-choked sky, far bigger than any scavenger. A low vibration thrummed through the stone beneath his feet. The hatchling pulsed violently in his arms, almost as if sensing it. Elias's pulse quickened. Whatever it wasn't human. And it was coming closer. Elias didn't wait. The shadow overhead had disappeared as quickly as it had appeared, but the sense of danger didn't leave him. He pressed forward along the narrow ridge, each footstep careful but urgent. The hatchling wriggled in his arms, scales glowing faintly, as if it understood he was the only protection it had. Below, the scavengers hissed and clattered, trying to climb the loose rocks. Elias glanced over his shoulder. They were relentless. If he didn't find cover soon, both he and the hatchling would be trapped. The ridge ended in a jagged slope, leading down into a crater where steam hissed from molten cracks. Elias froze, scanning the path. Too steep, too unstable. But he spotted a narrow tunnel partially hidden by rubble. Without hesitation, he clambered toward it, holding the hatchling close. The glow of its scales illuminated the jagged walls, casting dancing shadows. Elias's breath came in sharp bursts. Every step was a gamble. One misstep could send him plummeting into the molten chasm below. The hatchling let out a high-pitched chirp, almost like a warning. Elias stopped. In the faint light, he saw the telltale shimmer of the scavengers, their insectoid eyes reflecting the hatchling's glow. One had found the ridge. The creature hissed, clicking mandibles, and lunged. Elias swung a rock, hitting it just enough to knock it off balance. It fell, screeching, but others were still coming. His heart pounded. He had to keep moving. Inside the tunnel, the air was thick and hot. Steam hissed from cracks in the walls. Elias moved quickly, using the hatchling's glow to guide him. He noticed something strange. The glow seemed to respond to the tunnel's vibrations, pulsing brighter whenever he took a careful step. It wasn't just light, it was energy almost alive. He felt a tingle run up his arm. The hatchling wasn't just fragile, it was powerful in ways he didn't yet understand. Suddenly, the tunnel narrowed, forcing Elias to crouch. A section of rock gave way beneath him. He barely caught himself on a ledge, clutching the hatchling to his chest. Its glow flared, illuminating a hidden spring of crystal-clear water below. The heat and smoke of the surface seemed far away here. Elias allowed himself a brief moment of relief. He lowered the hatchling gently into the shallow pool. The water cooled its trembling body, and it let out a soft, calming chirp. For a moment, the tension eased. But relief was short-lived. The scavengers had found the tunnel entrance. Their screeches echoed, bouncing off the stone walls. Elias's jaw tightened. He had a choice: stay here and fight or find another way out. He looked around quickly and noticed the crystals along the walls hummed faintly when the hatchling's glow touched them. A plan formed in his mind. He didn't have weapons, only his instincts and the hatchling's strange energy. Elias picked up a handful of crystal fragments and hurled them toward the tunnel entrance. The shards bounced, reflecting the hatchling's glow and creating a blinding flash. The scavengers recoiled, screeching, giving him precious seconds. He grabbed the hatchling again and sprinted deeper into the tunnel, the crystals scattering light across jagged walls. Every step was faster now, urgency driving him, even as the tunnel twisted unpredictably. Then came the rumble. Elias skidded to a stop. Above, a section of the ceiling cracked, sending debris falling. He dove, covering the hatchling with his body. Rocks tumbled around him, some bouncing dangerously close. When the dust settled, Elias felt his knees scraped and blood running down his forearms, but both of them were alive. The hatchling chirped again, weak but persistent. Elias's heart swelled. Against impossible odds, they had survived another attack. As he moved on, he noticed another oddity. The tunnel walls were lined with strange markings, etched deeply into the rock. They glowed faintly as the hatchling passed. Elias crouched, brushing a finger over the symbols. They weren't natural. Something intelligent had carved them long ago. And somehow the hatchling responded to them. Its glow pulsed faster, almost like a heartbeat syncing with the carvings. Questions flooded his mind. What were these symbols? Who had made them? And why did the hatchling react? The tunnel opened into a cavern. Steam and sulfur filled the air, but it was wide enough for him to move freely. At the center was a small pool, water reflecting the hatchling's light. Elias set it down gently. The hatchling stared into its own reflection, wings trembling slightly. Elias knelt beside it, whispering, "We're almost safe. Just a little further." But safety was an illusion. From the darkness at the cavern's far end, movement stirred. Shadows flickered unnaturally. The scavengers had followed, somehow squeezing through cracks he hadn't noticed. Their screeches were lower now, more coordinated. Elias's stomach twisted. There were too many. They were smarter than he had thought. And if he didn't act fast, this cavern would become their tomb. Elias scanned the walls and floor. The hatchling stirred again, glowing brighter, almost in warning. He realized the energy inside it wasn't random. It could repel them, maybe even scare them away if he used it correctly. But how? One wrong move and the hatchling could be harmed, or worse, the predators could adapt. His mind raced. He had to act, and he had to act now. He cupped the hatchling in both hands, whispering, "We can do this together." A pulse of light shot from the tiny creature, washing across the cavern floor. The scavengers screeched and stumbled back, retreating. Elias felt a surge of hope. This was a small victory, a clue that they might survive. But even as he smiled, he heard a deep rumble from above. The cavern walls trembled. Something massive was coming, something bigger than the scavengers. The hatchling pulsed violently in his arms, almost screaming in fear. Elias's heart pounded. They had survived so far, but the worst was yet to come. The cavern trembled again, dust falling from the jagged ceiling. Elias clutched the hatchling to his chest, feeling its tiny heart pound against his hand. The creature's glow flared wildly, lighting the cavern with shifting colors. Whatever was coming, it wasn't a scavenger. Its presence pressed on him like the weight of a storm. He glanced at the tunnel exit behind him, blocked by rubble and smoke, and realized they had no easy escape. Every instinct screamed danger. Then a noise, low, guttural, almost melodic, echoed through the cavern. Elias stiffened. The hatchling's wings twitched. Its glow shifted, forming a pulsing rhythm he could almost feel in his chest. It wasn't just scared. It was communicating. And somehow he understood a faint meaning. Danger, yes, but also guidance. Elias scanned the cavern walls. Crystals jutted from the floor and ceiling, some shattered, some intact. He noticed that the hatchling's glow intensified when near certain shards. Experimentally, he held it close to a jagged crystal cluster. A pulse of light shot outward, and a section of the cavern wall shimmered. It revealed faint carvings, strange symbols that seemed almost alive. The hatchling chirped excitedly. Elias realized the creature wasn't just responding, it was interacting with the environment. "What are you?" he whispered, awe mixing with fear. He crouched, brushing a finger over the glowing symbols. They weren't language he knew, but the hatchling reacted as if it understood them. Its tiny body pulsed with energy, the light forming patterns that echoed the carvings. For the first time, Elias felt that this creature was more than an animal. It held knowledge, maybe even memories from a past he couldn't yet comprehend. A sudden screech ripped through the cavern. Elias looked up. Shadows moved along the walls, massive shapes, larger than the scavengers, gliding through the tunnel entrance. His pulse raced. He didn't recognize the silhouettes, but they were intelligent, coordinated. And they were closing in. Instinct took over. Elias pressed the hatchling to his chest, letting its glow flare. A wave of energy pulsed outward, washing over the approaching creatures. They recoiled, screeching, but didn't flee entirely. Elias realized this energy wasn't just defense, it could be weaponized. But using it too strongly might harm the hatchling. He needed a plan, and fast. He studied the crystals again. Their arrangement, the carvings, the way the hatchling reacted, it was a pattern. He needed to move quickly, to trigger the right pulse in the right direction. Elias held the hatchling closer to the largest crystal cluster at the cavern's center. The creature's glow brightened dramatically. The carvings shimmered and resonated, sending a low vibration through the floor. The shadows froze as if stunned by something they couldn't understand. A tiny moment of victory. Elias's mind raced. If he could harness the hatchling's energy through these crystals, maybe he could drive the creatures back. He repositioned, careful to stay balanced on the unstable ground. Every movement counted. One wrong step, one misfire of the hatchling's energy, and they would be overrun. Then he noticed something else, a pattern within the hatchling's pulses. They weren't random. Each glow, each vibration, seemed to correspond to the carving's symbols. It wasn't instinct alone. The hatchling was reading the environment, interpreting the carvings, and acting with intelligence Elias had never seen. His heart pounded with awe. This tiny creature had survived a dying species for a reason. Elias whispered urgently, "Focus. We can do this together." The hatchling's glow surged, and a wave of light expanded across the cavern. The approaching creatures faltered, hissing and shrieking, thrown off balance. Elias seized the moment, moving toward a tunnel that led deeper into the cave. He could hear the creatures regrouping behind him, but for now the immediate threat was delayed. As he moved, he felt a subtle vibration in the hatchling's chest, almost like a heartbeat syncing with the crystal's energy. A sudden understanding clicked in Elias's mind. The hatchling wasn't just defending them, it was trying to show him a path. Its energy pulsed toward a narrow passage partially hidden behind a collapsed rock wall. He pushed the rubble aside, revealing a faintly lit corridor leading downward. The hatchling chirped urgently, nudging him forward. Elias breathed sharply, adrenaline and hope mingling. This could be their escape or it could be another trap. He didn't know yet, but he trusted the hatchling. It had survived death once. Together, maybe they could survive again. As they moved through the corridor, Elias glimpsed more carvings, more crystals embedded in the walls. The hatchling's glow danced across them, illuminating strange shapes, creatures, symbols, maybe even a map. His mind whirred with questions. Who had made this place? Why had the hatchling responded to it? And most importantly, what would happen if the creatures caught them before he understood? A sudden tremor shook the corridor. Elias stumbled, clutching the hatchling tighter. The walls cracked, sending dust and small rocks falling. The hatchling let out a sharp, warning chirp, and its glow flared, brighter than ever. Something was coming. Something large, something that didn't belong in this world. Elias's stomach twisted. Every instinct screamed danger. He had no choice but to push forward, deeper into the unknown. He glanced down at the hatchling, now calm but glowing softly, almost like it was guiding him. Elias whispered, "We'll figure this out. Together." And then, from the shadows ahead, a faint blue shimmer appeared, a doorway glowing faintly, shaped like none of the natural tunnels. The hatchling pulsed violently, almost vibrating in his arms. Elias froze. This was new, something he hadn't expected. A doorway. A secret waiting to be revealed. Elias took a deep breath and stepped toward the glowing doorway. The hatchling wriggled in his arms, wings fluttering, pulsing brighter with every step. Dust swirled around them, and the tremors from the cavern ceiling made every rock feel unstable. Behind him, the screeches of the pursuing creatures echoed, louder now, sharper, more coordinated. He had no time to hesitate. The doorway shimmered like water, faint blue light spilling across jagged walls. It pulsed in rhythm with the hatchling's glow. Elias realized suddenly that the creature wasn't just reacting, it was guiding him. This was their way out, or at least a way to survive longer. He whispered softly, "Lead the way. I'm right behind you." The hatchling chirped, almost in agreement, wings fluttering against his chest. No sooner had he stepped through, the ground behind him shook violently. A massive shadow fell across the corridor. The creatures had found another entrance. Elias froze, heart racing. They weren't just scavengers. These were intelligent hunters, moving as a pack, predicting his every move. His eyes darted to the walls. Crystal clusters glowed faintly in response to the hatchling. Inspiration struck. If the hatchling's energy could repel them, maybe he could amplify it. He placed the hatchling on a wide crystal pedestal near the doorway. The tiny creature's glow intensified as Elias positioned the surrounding crystals to reflect and focus the energy. The air hummed with power. Elias's mind raced. One chance, one pulse, and they might escape, or everything could collapse. The creatures screeched below, closing in. He braced himself. "Now," he whispered. The hatchling flared, pulsing violently. Light shot from it, bouncing across the crystal walls, creating waves of energy that surged toward the creatures. They screeched and recoiled, their coordinated movement faltering. Elias felt the vibrations through the floor, a raw, uncontrolled power. Rocks shifted, small fissures opened, but the creatures hesitated. It was enough. Elias scooped up the hatchling and sprinted toward a side tunnel revealed by the crystal's reflection. Every step was precarious. The floor trembled beneath him. Dust and small rocks fell from the ceiling, hitting him, stinging his arms. But the hatchling's glow kept him focused, casting light through the swirling dust. Together they were a force, fragile yet unstoppable. Then came a deafening crack. A section of the ceiling collapsed ahead, blocking the path with jagged rocks. Elias's stomach twisted. No time to climb over. The pursuing creatures would reach them before he could find another way. His mind raced. There had to be a solution. The hatchling pulsed again, wings fluttering against him. Its energy seemed to react to his thoughts, almost like it understood urgency. Elias realized he could use the hatchling as a catalyst. He pressed it close to the crystals embedded in the cavern walls. The glow shot outward in concentrated beams, forming a dome of energy around them. The pursuing creatures slammed against it, screeching, clawing, but the dome held. Elias stumbled back, arms burning from holding the hatchling. He felt a surge of triumph. This tiny creature had just bought them precious seconds. But victory was fleeting. The ground beneath the dome trembled violently. Elias's heart sank. The energy pulse had destabilized the cavern further. Rocks tumbled from above, cracks widened. The dome flickered. One wrong movement and everything could collapse on top of them. He had no choice. He grabbed the hatchling tightly, leaping toward a narrow crevice revealed by the shifting rubble. Dust and light swirled in blinding waves. The creatures screeched, following closely, but the dome pushed them back just enough. Elias pressed through the crevice, muscles straining, sweat and blood mingling on his arms. The hatchling chirped softly, pulsing in rhythm with his own heartbeat. Relief hit briefly, they were moving away from immediate danger. But then a low vibration shuddered through the walls, deeper and slower than anything before. Elias froze. The cavern itself seemed alive, reacting to the hatchling's energy. He realized they hadn't just disturbed the creatures, they had triggered something larger, something ancient. The hatchling's glow brightened violently, almost painfully. Elias held it closer, whispering, "It's okay. I've got you." Its energy surged outward, illuminating carvings and symbols along the walls. Suddenly he understood, this hatchling wasn't just a creature. It was a key, linked to an ancient intelligence, a civilization lost long ago. And now whatever it unlocked was stirring. A massive shadow fell across the tunnel ahead. Elias's chest tightened. The form was enormous, unlike anything he had seen, armored, alien, and moving with precision. It paused at the crevice, studying them. The hatchling pulsed in fear, wings vibrating. Elias knew one thing, they couldn't outrun it. They had to face it. With no weapons, no backup, only his courage and the hatchling's energy, Elias made a choice. He stepped forward, planting the hatchling in the center of a crystal formation. "We can do this," he whispered fiercely. Light surged from the creature, amplified by the crystals. The massive alien paused, its eyes glowing faintly in recognition, or maybe curiosity. Elias felt a rush of hope. Humans had survived worse. Humans had always adapted, using intelligence, courage, and heart to face impossible odds. And now he would prove it again. Elias's heart pounded as the massive alien studied him and the hatchling. Its body was armored, sleek, and clearly built for both strength and intelligence. It didn't roar or attack, it moved with deliberate caution, like it was assessing everything. Elias hugged the hatchling tighter, feeling the soft pulse of its glowing scales against his chest. The creature's energy vibrated in harmony with the hatchling's, almost as if it understood the situation too. He swallowed hard, adrenaline mixing with awe. One thing was certain, the alien wasn't mindless. Whatever it was, it recognized that he was more than just a human. That he was willing to act, to protect, to make impossible choices. Humans had always adapted, used intellect and heart to survive. This was another test, and he would meet it. The hatchling chirped softly, wings fluttering. Its glow grew brighter, casting long shadows across the cavern walls. Elias realized it was trying to communicate with the alien. And then it hit him, the hatchling wasn't just reacting instinctively. It was speaking in a language of energy, pulsing in sequences that the alien seemed to understand. Elias swallowed his fear. He took a step forward, voice steady despite the pounding of his heart. "We mean no harm. I only want to protect this one." He gestured to the hatchling. The alien's glowing eyes flickered as if parsing his words, though it had no voice to respond. Elias's pulse quickened. This moment could go either way. The alien shifted its massive form, tilting its head. A low hum vibrated through the cavern. Elias could feel it through his feet, through the air, through the hatchling itself. He understood instinctively, this was a test of trust. The alien could crush them both, yet it hesitated. The hatchling pulsed again, wings trembling, light weaving intricate patterns on the walls. Elias realized the patterns were not random, they were a map, a guide, a connection to something much larger. He pressed forward carefully, steps measured but confident. "I'll protect it," he whispered again. "No matter what." The hatchling glowed in response, a small beacon in the dim, shifting light. The alien extended a limb, slow and deliberate, then touched one of the crystals near the hatchling. A pulse of energy rippled outward, illuminating carvings Elias hadn't noticed before. Ancient symbols told a story, a civilization lost to time, guardians of a species meant to survive and guide the galaxy. Elias's mind raced. The hatchling wasn't just an animal, it was a key. A living link to knowledge humanity couldn't yet comprehend. And now, standing here, he understood that protecting it was more than compassion. It was responsibility, destiny even. The alien stepped back, retracting its limb, and emitted a sound that vibrated in Elias's chest. Then it moved aside, slowly, revealing a deeper tunnel, glowing faintly with the same blue light that had guided them earlier. The hatchling pulsed violently, almost vibrating with excitement. Elias understood, it wanted to explore, to show him the path. The alien had accepted him as a protector. He took a deep breath, carefully lifting the hatchling into his arms. "Come on," he whispered. "Let's see what's next." Together they stepped toward the glowing passage, every nerve on edge, every sense alert. Behind them, the cavern rumbled as if acknowledging the passage of something important, something alive. They moved cautiously, the tunnel widening into a vast chamber filled with ancient machinery, glowing glyphs and crystal conduits humming with energy. Elias's eyes widened. He realized the hatchling had led him to a sanctuary, a repository of knowledge and power left by the ancient civilization whose species it came from. The creatures from before had been guardians, ensuring only the worthy could enter. He felt a surge of awe. Humanity had faced impossible odds before, but here was proof. Courage, intelligence, and compassion could transcend species, even civilizations. The hatchling chirped softly, wings fluttering, its glow dancing across the room. Elias knelt beside it, brushing a hand over its iridescent scales. "You're more than just a survivor," he said softly. "You're the future." He could feel it, the bond between them, the weight of responsibility and the spark of hope. Humans had once again defied the impossible, not with brute force but with heart, intellect, and determination. Elias looked around the chamber, absorbing the carvings, the machines, the faint whispers of a lost culture. Each pulse of the hatchling's glow revealed more secrets. Coordinates to distant worlds, messages left for those capable of understanding them, warnings of dangers yet unseen. It was more than a sanctuary, it was a map for the next adventure, a guide for humanity to step into a larger galaxy. He rose, lifting the hatchling close to his chest. The alien guardian moved to the side, its form glowing faintly, a silent acknowledgement. Elias felt a wave of relief and pride. Against impossible odds, he had protected the last of a species, earned the trust of an alien intelligence, and unlocked a secret that could change everything. As he stepped toward the exit of the chamber, the hatchling pulsed once more, sending a wave of light forward. A holographic star map appeared, showing points of interest in distant galaxies, some glowing brighter than others. Elias's heart skipped a beat. The adventure was just beginning. He whispered softly to the hatchling, "We survived the impossible. Now we have to see what else is out there." The hatchling chirped in agreement, glowing steadily. Elias glanced back at the alien guardian one last time. It gave a subtle nod, or at least he thought it did, before retreating into the shadows. Outside the chamber, the cavern settled into silence. Elias stood, breathing heavily, eyes scanning the vast space ahead. The hatchling nestled against his chest, its glow faint but steady. Humanity had triumphed, not through strength alone but through courage, intelligence, and heart. And yet, as the star map flickered before him, he knew the story was far from over. Distant points glimmered with mystery, secrets waiting to be uncovered. Somewhere in the galaxy, more challenges, more dangers, and more revelations awaited. Elias tightened his grip on the hatchling. Whatever came next, he was ready. Humanity would shine.